Finally, 25th Amendment is asked.
The whole civilization will die tonight. That is the definition of genocide. He talks like a supervillain from a Marvel comic.
This is Power Plant and Bridge Day. Peace wins. War loses.
It is vile. It begins with a promise to use the U.S. military to destroy civilian infrastructure, which is to say to commit a war crime.
I saw this yesterday, and like Marjorie Greene and like Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and everybody else, this is disturbing. It's actually sickening. But it's Easter Sunday. It's literally the holiest day of the year, and this is what you post? And this is when you realize Trump is evil.
Oh, Trump says, we love the Iranian people. We're going to make them live in hell. It's just so obvious slop from Trump on Easter.
And just announcing war crimes. We're declaring war on the civilian population. Man, dude, the recklessness of Donald Trump. We're not trying to start a holy war with 1.5 billion people.
Those people who are in direct contact with the president need to say, no, I'll resign.
Oh, it looks like Trump has chickened out again. It is another Taco Tuesday. This is a complete and total U.S. defeat.
I am sick of this shit. Can't he just behave like a normal human? I mean, honestly, like the president, 3D chess, shut up. Shut up about that shit.
The president demands, we have not reached any of those. He said that we want to dismantle all major nuclear facilities. That has not happened. They have not suspended their ballistic missiles program. They're still firing them off.
Who do you think you are? You're tweeting out the F word on Easter morning? No decent person mocks other people's religion.
Trump's own allies who helped get him elected, they're calling for the 25th Amendment after he threatened to wipe out a whole civilization tonight. Candace Owens said that the 25th Amendment needs to be invoked. He's a genocidal lunatic. Marjorie Taylor Greene said not a single bomb is dropped on America. We cannot kill an entire civilization. This is evil and madness. Alex Jones said that Trump got demon-possessed or had an aneurysm and added that Trump literally sounds like an unhinged supervillain from a Marvel comic movie. I think this is not what we voted for. Matt Walsh said that anyone who shouts this down as panicking or TDS or whatever is not a serious person. Megyn Kelly reposted Glenn Greenwald, who called it one of the sickest, most demented, most morally reprehensible things any American president has ever said. Tucker Carlson called it vile on every level, a promise to commit war crimes against civilians, and Piers Morgan called it a brazen pre-admission of genocide.
Piers Morgan, Tucker Carlson, Alex Jones, Marjorie Taylor Greene, all of these people have called for Donald Trump to be removed from office. They are all right-wing people. And yet moderate Republicans are doing nothing. Just silent. They're on vacation right now. Donald Trump has threatened a nuclear attack on Iran. He said in a Truth Social post this morning that an entire civilization will die tonight. That's the threat of war crimes, the threat of nuclear bombs. Republicans have the power to stop this, and they're doing nothing. Not a fucking thing. So you and I are left with the hope that Donald Trump lives up to his nickname. Hopefully he chickens out. Hopefully today is Taco Tuesday. That's the best we got, because Congress is MIA. They're just gonna let him do what he wants because they're afraid of his base. Like if they go against him, the base is gonna stand up. You're afraid you're not gonna get reelected because Donald Trump's base is gonna he's threatening to kill millions of people. It's time for you to step up. If you don't step up now, you're complicit in probably the worst war crime in history.
When Alex Jones, the guy who said they're turning the frogs gay, says this about Donald Trump, you know it's over.
Trump needs intervention. He needs to take some time off. When your ankles swell up 3 times the size they were before, that means heart failure. And he does look sick. And he does babble and, sound like the brain's not doing too hot. We need to pray for Trump, that the Holy Spirit touch his heart and loose him from whatever evil control he's under. I'm serious.
When the conspiracy theorists of the far right are now creating conspiracy theories to explain the behavior and demeanor of the guy they love, that's that.
Alex Jones, okay? A man who literally said multiple times that Sandy Hook shooting was an inside job by Obama is telling us that maybe it's time to use a 25th Amendment on Donald J. Trump. What does that tell you about the situation?
And it's always 2 weeks. He's like a conscientious employee. He always gives 2 weeks notice.
I'll be making a big decision on the Paris Accord over the next 2 weeks. We're signing a health care plan within 2 weeks. We call it the gold card, and we're going to start selling hopefully in about 2 weeks. So we can just sit down, and I'll do this at some point over the next 2 weeks. They would have had a nuclear weapon within 2 weeks. We'll have something in 2 weeks. You'll have your approval in 2 weeks. I could answer that question better in 2 weeks. I'll let you know in about 2 weeks. You can ask that question in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. I think in 2 weeks we'll know which way I'm going.
Hello guys, and welcome to the Joy Report, where we get an outsider's view with an insider's clarity. Something strange is happening right now, and it's happening fast. The same MAGA voices who stood by DT through everything are now starting to break away. And not quietly either. In the middle of rising tensions around the Iran conflict, some of his most loyal allies are openly questioning him in ways we've never seen before. The most shocking moment, Alex Jones, one of DT's loudest defenders, reportedly asking, how do we impeach him? Let that sink in. When figures like that start talking about impeachment, you know something has shifted. This isn't criticism from the outside anymore. This is coming from inside the movement. Before we proceed, all credit goes to the creators of these videos. You'll find all their ads in my description box. But for now, let me play you a few more clips and I'll be back with more commentary.
What do you think is going to happen? You think we're going to be okay?
I hope so. Of course. I don't know.
Do you think about it?
I'm confused. I can't believe we went to this war. When we started bombing Iran, I was like, this can't be true.
I'm scared, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, you should be.
I'm scared.
Well, it's a scary time because this is a real
people are scared.
War. So insane based on what he ran on. I mean, this is why a lot of people feel betrayed, right? He ran on no more wars and these stupid, senseless wars, and then we have one that we can't even really clearly define why we did it.
Uh-oh, more bad news for Donald Trump. It is really getting bad out there for Trump and MAGA. This whole thing is imploding. We are witnessing right now the end of MAGA. You may not believe me. I don't know what it's going to take for you to believe me, but it's happening. MAGA is imploding. The wheels are coming off of this thing, and it's only going to get worse. They are panicked, and they don't know how to deal with it. We are watching MAGA struggle with how to move on from Trump.
Multiple people are coming out asking for the president to be removed per the 25th Amendment of the Constitution. And they're saying it's because they feel that the president has gone off the deep end. And folks, this isn't just Democrats calling for it. And if you want to know how far right-wing this goes into, you don't have to look any further than Alex Jones. You know, Alex Jones, Sandy Hook, all of that. That Alex Jones is on his show today asking, how would it be done?
How do we 25th Amendment is asked?
Well, 2/3 of the House would need to approve it, as well as 2/3 of the Senate. And his cabinet is the one who's going to have to take that up. But folks, you have Alex Jones, one of the biggest supporters of the president, who helped put him in office with every lie that could possibly put in, is out asking how it could happen.
I did watch Alex Jones' reaction to this tweet. He was disappointed. He was very disappointed. When you've lost Alex Jones, when you've gone too far for the info war.
It all started with a single post that immediately set off alarm bells. DT wrote, a whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. I don't want that to happen, but it probably will. That message spread fast, and the reaction was intense. People didn't just see it as dramatic, they saw it as dangerous. A leader speaking about the possible destruction of an entire civilization, almost as if it were inevitable, raised serious moral and political questions. And instead of calming things down, the rhetoric that followed seemed to lean even further into escalation, with talk about regime change and stronger military action. And that's when the backlash began, but not from where many expected. This wasn't just criticism from Democrats or the left, this was coming from within DT's own base. Influencers, commentators, and political allies who had supported him for years began raising concerns. The core issue wasn't just politics, it was morality. People started asking whether targeting infrastructure in a way that harms civilians could be considered a war crime. Others questioned whether this kind of escalation matched the values they believed the movement stood for. Several prominent right-wing voices spoke out in strong terms, describing the idea of destroying civilian infrastructure as crossing a line. The argument they made was simple. civilians are not responsible for wars started by governments, and they should never be treated as targets. These weren't vague criticisms either. The tone was serious, emotional, and in many cases, deeply disappointed. There was a sense that something fundamental had been broken. Megyn Kelly also added to the growing concern. Her commentary reflected a wider unease among conservatives who supported DT because they believed he would avoid new wars. Now, that expectation is being challenged in real time. The question many are asking is whether this is still the same America First approach or something completely different.
Reawakening, and Trump is just a minor figure in all of that now. And we have to be appreciative of the old Trump that went through so much and got so much done. And that's the Trump we remember. And we're just sad because that happens. We need to be sad about Trump. This is not funny. This is not good. But he's gone. And that's it. And all the people rallied around him, you can see Hegseth's freaked out. You can see the press secretary's freaked out. They're being loyal. They think it's the lesser of two evils. And okay, but I just, Trump needs intervention. He needs to take some time off. We need to pray for Trump, that the Holy Spirit touch his heart and loose him from whatever evil control he's under. I'm serious. And I think that's the answer. We need to pray for President Trump. We need to pray for other people to be awakened. We need to pray for justice and peace because we're in so much danger.
MAGA is starting to turn against Trump.
How do we 25th Amendment his ass?
That's Alex Jones openly calling to remove Trump from office, prompted by his social post threatening to obliterate Iran, calling Iranians crazy bastards, and warning a whole civilization will die. Now, if you don't know who Jones is, well, lucky you. He's a prominent far-right radio host, conspiracy theorist, and loyal Trump supporter for the last decade, and he's not alone in his calls. Other major conservative figures like Candace Owens and Marjorie Taylor Greene have also called for invoking the 25th Amendment against Trump. But what does that actually mean, and could it really happen? The 25th Amendment has 4 sections, but when people talk about invoking it, they're referring to Section 4. The only part that's never been used in American history. And here's how it works. If the vice president and a majority of the cabinet agree the president is unable to serve, the vice president immediately takes over as acting president. If the president disagrees, it's up to Congress to decide. The vice president is the most essential part of this process. And so far, Vance has shown 0 signs he's on board. In fact, he's doubled down on his support for the president and the Iran war today.
We've got tools in our toolkit that we so far haven't decided to use. The President of the United States can decide to use them, and he will decide to use them if the Iranians don't change their course of conduct.
Now let's suspend reality for a second and imagine Vance turns against Trump. Maybe he's hungry for that crown, or maybe his former Democrat wife gets in his ear. Vance would still need 8 of 15 cabinet members to agree with him. And if you've ever watched a Trump schmooze fest, cabinet meeting, those things are so sweet, you'll get a sugar high. You'll know it's incredibly unlikely. So if the cabinet's not down, is there another path? Technically, yes, but it may be even more far-fetched. There's a clause in the 25th Amendment that says the vice president, with the help of Congress, could establish another body, say a 25th Amendment commission, that could bypass the cabinet and oust the president. It's an idea Speaker Pelosi floated in 2020, but it never went anywhere. And with Republicans controlling both chambers of Congress, the numbers just aren't there no matter how many Democrats want to see the 25th invoked. And when you have the official Senate GOP account tweeting stuff like this, I'd venture to say the chances of the vice president, cabinet, or Congress invoking the 25th Amendment against Trump are basically 0.
Then there's Alex Jones, whose reaction captured just how serious this moment is for some people on the right. His shift in tone from strong support to openly questioning DT's actions shows how deep the frustration runs. When someone like him starts talking about impeachment, even in a rhetorical or emotional way, it signals that this is not business as usual. This is not just disagreement, this is a break. And perhaps one of the clearest signs of that break is coming from Marjorie Taylor Greene. Known as one of DT's former strongest allies, she has now taken a clear stance against this direction, especially when it comes to foreign wars. She has been vocal about opposing involvement in overseas conflicts and has pushed back against policies that move away from America First. Her position reflects a growing divide within the movement between those who still supported his decisions and those who feel he's betraying the very principles they rallied behind. What you're witnessing right now is not just disagreement, it's fragmentation. For years, the MAGA movement appeared unified with a shared message and a shared purpose. But now, the unity is being tested. The core ideas, learning wars, putting America first, avoiding foreign entanglements, are being questioned. And when those ideas are challenged, people are forced to decide where they stand. And this is where things start to feel like a turning point. Because once people inside a movement begins to question its leader, especially in such public and serious ways, it becomes much harder to maintain that sense of unity. The conversation shifts. It becomes less about defending and more about debating, less about loyalty and more about accountability.
Alex Jones thinks Trump's losing his mind. Marjorie Taylor Greene says that he's gone insane and everyone in his administration is complicit. And after Trump praised Allah on Easter, tomorrow the runoff to fill Greene's old Georgia seat is being called one of the first electoral tests on how voters are responding to the Iran war. Right? And so when your biggest diehard supporters and loyalists are calling you out, they're telling your staff to beg forgiveness from God, you obviously have a problem that goes way beyond the polls. And where we should start is with Trump's Easter post, in which he cursed out Iran and praised Allah, which prompted Alex Jones to go on a rant about the president's behavior.
America's sinking global rankings of likability. It's just not what we voted for. We've never seen rhetoric out of presidents like this when we go to war, even if you're for this war. This is really bad PR, folks. This is what I'm talking about, the way Trump's behaving. Way more erratic. His speech, is not coherent a lot of the time. You can't deny this is happening.
Jones even acknowledged that while he often highlights what he sees as Trump's accomplishments, he doesn't fully back him on this.
I'm trying to salvage something and before the midterms and just, hope that we can get Trump to pull out of this war. So I'm trying to get as much public awakening to this and pressure as I can, but I don't have a lot of hope.
And this actually, if you follow him, this is not the first time that Jones has questioned Trump's mental state. But when Alex Jones, like the man who built an empire on conspiracy theories and unflinching loyalty to Donald Trump, is publicly saying that the president's behavior is erratic and incoherent, that's not a fringe critique anymore. And then there's MTG, who went even harder. Greene, who used to be one of Trump's most visible loyalists before distancing herself and leaving Congress, posted yesterday, everyone in his administration that claims to be a Christian needs to fall on their knees and beg forgiveness from God and stop worshiping the president and intervene in Trump's madness. I know all of you and him, and he has gone insane, and all of you are complicit, saying this is not what we promised the American people when they overwhelmingly voted in 2024. I know I was there more than most. This is not making America great again. This is evil. And so again, take a beat to fully drink in that this is Marjorie Taylor Greene that we're talking about, calling the president insane and his administration evil. And Greene's words, they're also especially important right now because the runoff election to fill her old Georgia seat, that's actually tomorrow. Or with the New York Times calling it one of the first electoral tests of how voters are responding to the Iran war. And there, as far as the candidates, you have Democrat Sean Harris, who's spoken against the war and focused on how Trump's decisions have increased costs for Americans. And then you have Republican Clayton Fuller, who's a Trump loyalist, defending the president and using MAGA talking points to argue that the war is actually making the country safer. And while Greene hasn't formally endorsed either candidate, CNN reports that she intends to vote Republican. And that's even though on Iran specifically, her position is more aligned with the Democratic candidate.
Megyn Kelly gonna ask, can Donald Trump act like a normal human being? When has Donald Trump acted like a normal human being? What you mean? I'm sick and tired of all this fake outrage. Because honestly, bro, I'm viewing all this MAGA, MAGA people turning on Trump as fake outrage. That's the way I see it. The type of outrage that I thought I was going to see, especially with the whole files, I have yet to see it. Okay? And honestly, these people just trying to save face. But deep down in their heart, I believe they really love Donald Trump for everything he says and everything he does.
For many observers, this moment feels like what people call a FAFO moment. You mess around and you find out. For years, there were warnings from different communities, including many Black voices, about the risks of this kind of leadership and rhetoric. They warned that it could lead to dangerous outcomes, especially when it comes to the use of power and military force. But those warnings were often dismissed or ignored. Now, some of the same people who ignored those warnings are facing a reality they didn't expect. They're seeing actions and statements that don't align with what they believed they were supporting. And that realization is creating a sense of frustration, confusion, and for some, regret. On social media, the reaction has been intense. Some people are saying, we told you this would happen. Others are saying, now you see it for yourself. And then there's a growing sense among some groups that it may already be too late to change direction. At the same time, this moment is forcing people to ask bigger questions. What does accountability look like in a situation like this? Can a leader make statements about destruction of an entire civilization and still maintain the same level of trust? And what happens to a movement when its core promises are no longer clearly being upheld? These are not easy questions, and there are no simple answers, but there are questions that more and more people are starting to ask. Meanwhile, AOC has been addressing a different side of this moment, the emotional impact. For people who feel overwhelmed by everything happening, her message has been about staying grounded. She encourages people not to shut down, even when things feel chaotic or heavy.
If you are watching the news right now and you are feeling overwhelmed, know that you are not alone. And second of all, know that that is exactly what this administration is trying to get you to feel. And it's natural when you see all of this stuff falling apart to get paralyzed because all of it is so overwhelming and you don't know what to do about it. But it's also very pressing information, and so you know it's going to affect your life or the life of people that you know, but what do you do about it? What is Congress doing about it? What's our leadership doing about it? The first order of business is to self-regulate. What authoritarian regimes try to do is that they often try to, what is known as flood the zone, do so much at once, or try to do so much at once that it gets carried in the news, that you feel overwhelmed and paralyzed. And it's important for you to understand that the paralysis and shock that you feel right now is the point. They are trying to induce a state of passivity among the general public. So it is of personal importance for you, and it is also of political importance to take a breath. That does not mean tune out. That does not mean get apathetic.
She emphasizes the importance of staying informed, taking care of your mental health, and remembering that individual awareness and engagement still matter. Because the truth is, moments like this can feel like too much. There's a lot of information, a lot of strong opinions, and a lot of uncertainty about what comes next. It's easy to feel powerless, but staying engaged, even in small ways, can make a difference. As all of this continues to unfold, one thing is clear. Something has changed. The dynamic within the MAGA movement is no longer what it once was. The unity has been shaken, and the conversation has shifted. Influencers who once spoke in full support are now divided. Some are defending DT, others are criticizing him, and many are trying to figure out where they stand. The big question now is whether this is just a temporary moment of tension or the beginning of a deeper shift. Will things settle back into the way they were before, or will this lead to a lasting change in how people view DT and the movement as a whole? Because once trust begins to break, it's very difficult to rebuild. Once people start questioning leadership in serious way, those doubts don't just disappear. And once a movement starts to fracture, it often continues in that direction.
It's too late. I don't know what else to say other than it is too late. The rats are fleeing the ship, but the ship is at the bottom of the ocean. You're not going to 25th Amendment him. You're not going to impeach him. None of this is ever going to go through with the current Congress and setup that we have. It's not going to happen. And now the rats who are on the wheel steering it are saying, what's going on? It's too late. There's really nothing else to say. Thanks for waking up. It's too late.
So what do you all think? Are these MAGA influencers right to speak out now, or should they have done it earlier? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. I would love to keep this discussion going. Otherwise, that's it from me. I also have another video specifically tailored for you, and if you enjoy such kind of content, please click up here and enjoy. Also, consider subscribing, liking and sharing because it helps me grow my channel and helps YouTube recommend this video to a wider audience. But for now, thank you so much for watching. Until the next time, the Joy Reports out.